The science has been clear for quite a while now. It is safe for kids to go back to school, and teachers as well. COVID transmission in schools very, very low, and our kids are now suffering needlessly going on to year 2. So why do teachers unions keep making these excuses? Let's get into it with tonight's panel. We've got a doozy. We've got attorney and co-host of Outnumbered on the Fox News Channel, Emily Compagno, is here, along with Versus Media podcast host and the Spectator USA contributor, Stephen L. Miller. Leave the last L off for savings. And Democratic strategist, radio host, and Fox News contributor, Leslie Marshall. She's got 4 L's in her name. We're silly with them. She is here. We're ready to party. So, Emily, I am over it. I'm sick of hearing stories about teachers in LA and Cleveland and Chicago and New York who don't want to go back to work because they say it's unsafe, yet they're obviously traveling, they're obviously flying, they're obviously going to grocery stores and Walgreens and Walmart. Why can't they go back in the classroom?
I mean, that's the million-dollar question. And this is just one more illustration, not that we needed it, of who actually holds all the power, the unions, and who wields all of the control, the union leaders. And as you said in your intro, it has nothing to do with the actual concepts. All this is a transparency for their warped optics that all they care about is that control and that power. And what I don't understand, Kennedy, is that as we've been navigating this horrific pandemic situation, what actually will be persuasive? Is it the anecdotal evidence? Because we've been screaming that from the top of our lungs since the beginning. Those disadvantaged children, the ones that are disproportionately affected, like those with developmental disabilities, those in Black and brown communities, those in underserved communities and the like? Or is it the statistics? Because those don't seem to be working either. The fact that suicides have skyrocketed over 200%, the mental health declinations, all of that. I don't understand what will be the tipping point for the unions to be put in their place, that it is killing the children, it is harming the children, not helping them. And if their best interest was actually serving them, then they would have made this call months ago.
And for a long time, Stephen, parents and society had a great deal of sympathy for teachers. And they would say, you know, yeah, the teachers do deserve a raise. But now they see that teachers are beholden to unions, and politicians are as well. So people have to stop voting for politicians who won't stand up to these unions. I think you should go one step further. Like in Cleveland last night, I said, if you have taken a vaccine and you are a teacher in Cleveland and you refuse to go back to work, you should be fired. So I don't have a problem with firing a bunch of people en masse to get rid of the union, but who should replace these teachers?
Yeah, no one's going to fire him because the country just elected the guy who's going to give teachers unions the most power that they've ever had. I think teachers themselves are in a tough spot. I know teachers who want to get back in the classroom, they want to teach, and they're just kind of beholden to their union. I think it's just time to stop screwing around and hire grocery store workers to show up and teach our kids.
They do a better job.
Every high-risk job throughout the last year, and there was a few of them, these people showed up and they went to work. Grocery store clerks, first responders. They risked more than what teachers union reps are risking. And so if any good comes out of the last year, which we're just about at a year, it's that there's this mass public reckoning that public teachers unions have too much influence, they have too much power, they need to be abolished, and the earth needs to be salted behind them. Grocery store workers, to me, deserve a statue on the National Mall for their work during the last year, and these people deserve a permanent sabbatical. We need solar panels that need building if they're not happy doing this.
It's absolutely right, Stephen, and we have to be more forceful in our declarations because we have to stand up for children. Now, Leslie, I know that you are a pro-union person. I get that. I don't fault anyone for that, especially if they've grown up in union families and union cities. I don't agree with them. However, UTLA is not like a typical union. They're awful.
Well, I would have to say, I live in LA, as you know. I have 2 kids. Yesterday, my son was able to go to school from 8:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. It was glorious and sadly too early to drink, but it was lovely. That aside.
It's 4 o'clock in New York, Leslie.
Yeah, it's happy hour somewhere, right? Here's the thing. I am pro-union, but what the union asked for has now been given to them. And here's what they asked for. 1, to have the numbers in a certain place. We are at 7.2% from the 7 that you need in LA County to open the schools. 1, 2, money for ventilation. That was given to them by Governor Newsom in this budget. 3, vaccines. Essential workers, teachers were considered by Governor Newsom to be essential workers. They have been able to be vaccinated since the vaccines first came out after the elderly and in long-term facilities and the elderly were vaccinated here. And there are even specific centers, vaccination centers, just for teachers. So yes, I'm pro-union, but I also am old enough to remember when they said this is what we need, uno, dos, tres, and they got it, so now there are no more excuses. And the CDC did say that they don't need to be vaccinated to open safely.
The CDC,
and I would agree. I agree the kids need to go back. My son was wonderful yesterday. He was a great kid yesterday.
Teachers don't have to be vaccinated to go back, and they've been vaccinated. Now go back or go home for good. Go screw off with your dumb lives on vacation, because children need better than that. Speaking of children in a horrible situation, the migrant surge at the southern border is so overwhelming. The DHS chief is now pleading for federal workers to travel to Texas and join a volunteer force to control the situation. Yeah, no overtime pay there. No pay at all. And yet, according to White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki today, the Biden administration still thinks there's no problem at all, you guys. This is great.
At this point, is this a crisis at the border?
Look, I don't think we need to sit here and put new labels on what we have already conveyed. Is challenging.
With the huge uptick in the number of migrants being detained, including thousands of children, if that doesn't qualify as a crisis, what does?
Well, because we think that it's most important to explain the substantive policy of what's happening, what the root causes are of why these kids are coming, and what we're doing to try to solve what is a very challenging circumstance at the border. And
it's a crisis, you guys. It's not a crisis. It's a challenging circumstance. That's all it is, you guys. But these word games are not keeping anyone from crossing the border. And Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott says the situation will only get worse. Well, the good news is no one's talking about frozen windmills. So is the Biden administration asleep at the wheel, or is the president encouraging all these illegal border crossings on purpose? If he is, Emily, it doesn't make any sense, because whatever they're doing, it is inhumane. And we're going to talk about Hillary Clinton a little later. She's trying to justify it. It's like, well, at least they're not separating families. They are separating families. And you have thousands and thousands of kids showing up. You had like 400 the first week in January, and now you've got 3,500. So what's going on?
I don't know what's going on other than it's an incredibly chaotic situation. And let's pull it apart for a second. So Jen Psaki said, look, we need to drill down into the policy that's occurring there. But this is under an administration, under a president that wielded by the power of the pen, without legislation, without conversation, without debate, and without diplomacy, policies down there via executive orders that don't make sense. They say that their priority is COVID management, but it doesn't make sense then to increase those bed capacities from 8,000 up to the full 13,000. I always say this, Kennedy, you hear me, that our greatest ally in moderating that southern border surge remains Mexico. And for someone that was in office for over 47 years, President Biden, over anyone, should understand that we need that collaboration with those southern countries, that we need the consistency with those southern countries, and also the legislative participation. The reason why the policy is so muddled.
I would actually put that atop the podium. I don't have a problem with our president, Mexico's president, sitting down and talking about which visas make the most sense for both countries, because let's be honest. Like drugs, people are going to keep using drugs. So stop trying to extend the drug war. It's stupid. You know, you're not stopping the supply. The prohibition isn't working, but prohibition of people also doesn't work. And it creates so much confusion when you open everything up that you put people in harm's way. You create a humanitarian crisis with this sort of legislation dodging. It's awful. So, Stephen, he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't, President Biden.
Yeah, he has a problem on his hands, and it's largely one of his own making and the left's own making. When we heard for 4 years that, you know, these facilities are concentration camps and there's kids in cages, which were constructed under the Obama administration, and these people were too busy staging photo ops for Twitter along fence lines. And now they don't know how to be able to back off their own labeling. That's the problem Jen Psaki found herself in. She, we don't want to label this. Well, you labeled it for 4 years that this was pretty much literally Hitler if Biden closes the border down. And if he opens it up, he has not only a public relations crisis, but he has a public health crisis. These COVID cases aren't being tracked, and I don't even know if they're doing trace testing down at the border. But right now, again, going back to your last segment, we have American schools closed and we have a fence around the United States Capitol, but we have a border that's wide open and an administration that is either in denial over what's happening there, or they're purposely trying to distract people with stories of their cat and their dogs at the White House. I don't know.
that dog, Major, is just attacking people left and right. It's a bloodthirsty killer. I don't know what's going on in that White House. But Leslie, the biggest problem in terms of immigration is actually visa overstays. It's not people coming across the border. The biggest problem at the border is unaccompanied minors. And they haven't really talked about how they're going to stop that, because that is a bad thing. It is a bad thing for everybody.
No, absolutely. And this is not just a problem that is Joe Biden's. It was a problem that was Donald Trump's. And with COVID, it makes it worse, because when you look at the countries they're coming from, not only does COVID increase the amount of crime and the amount of violence, but it also decreases the amount of opportunity, jobs, and money, which propels more people to come over the border or send their children over the border. But we also have numbers, physical accurate numbers, which are, we had 13,000 beds, but with COVID restrictions, because of social distancing, that's down to 8,000. Fortunately,
so what are you going to do when 13,000 kids show up? You're going to send them to the Four Seasons?
No, but if you have more beds to put people, and you can process people, children specifically, to get them into the family homes that are already here in the United States, we won't see some of these headlines, and I don't think that we will.
I think that's a violation of the Third Amendment. Somehow we'll figure out a way. Cages. It's got to put them in cages. Sorry, that's all you got. Cages. And you got to put 3 in a bed, a little twin-size bed. That's what they've created. It's very sad. All right, party panel returns later. Hillary also claims former President Trump, quote, never accepted the awesome responsibility that goes with being president. Well, why can't she accept the responsibility of the fact she's a 2-time loser who, yes, will never be president? The party panel is back. Emily Compagno, Stephen L. Miller, Leslie Marshall. Leslie, I love it so much because she won't go away, and every time she rears out of the ground like an angry mole, I just have to pay her some lip service.
Well, I happen to like Mrs. Clinton, as you know.
You're with her.
Look, wait a minute. Hillary's not going to go away, and nor should she, because Republicans constantly love to invoke her and her husband's name. I think that more than Hillary saying Donald Trump, Republicans say Hillary. Everything's Hillary. If it's not Hillary or Bill Clinton, it's Barack Obama. They constantly in the Republican Party want to go back. She has a First Amendment right to speak. She's still a force and a great fundraiser for the Democrats. She's not going away. She's not going away, and I don't want her to.
Straw man. Let him take a nap. All right. So Stephen L. Miller, what advice do you have for Hillary Clinton? What should she do in her post-presidency or her non-presidency?
Yeah, I was gonna say nothing because she isn't president. I guess whatever. I guess sick burns on podcasts and on Twitter are a close second when you're the person who lost to Donald Trump. I mean, I don't have a problem with her saying that the GOP, she hopes the GOP finds its soul. I just hope that she finds the state of Wisconsin eventually.
Oh, she's so mad at Wisconsin. She blames Wisconsin. She blames Obama. It's like if Obama had come out and just talked about Russia disinformation in 2016, I would still be president. And I was looking at the vote totals. So Trump got 62 million in 2016. She got 65 million. Joe Biden got like 81 million, Emily. What does that say?
That she's not as popular as she thinks she is. I will say this. The saddest part to me, besides her being like the least evolved and least self-aware figure out there, is that she really is totally obliterating the platform she could have used for good. She really could have been a party unifier. She really could have exemplified elevating women's voices. She could be so much. And instead, she reduces herself to this embittered, battered figure that the reason that I think the Republican Party keeps bringing her up is because she keeps bringing herself up in that way. She has made herself so much smaller that I think it really is troubling to see someone squander that opportunity like that. And I don't think she's ever going to be satisfied. To your point, Kennedy, I really think she will go to the grave muttering Trump's name.
I know.
Your words, not mine.
And I mean, I don't have to say it, but I didn't vote for the guy. I didn't vote for him either time. I don't care that he's not president. I just think it's really funny that she's not president. And speaking of an actual queen, the queen has spoken. We've been waiting. Buckingham Palace releasing a statement responding to Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's explosive interview with Oprah Winfrey, saying, quote, "The issues raised, particularly that of race, are concerning. While some recollections may vary, they are taken very seriously and will be addressed by the family privately." Meanwhile, Meghan's estranged father, oh, this guy, and her sister with the wonky eyes both expressed skepticism about some of the claims made in the interview and accused the Duchess of mistreating them in various ways. So if everyone from the Queen of England to her own family members are having problems with Meghan, is it possible that she might be the problem? Or is that just the kind of unfair speculation that drove her and Prince Harry to live as humble chicken farmers in the simple, underprivileged, and authentic hills of Santa Barbara? Leslie, your thoughts?
Oh, my best friend lives in London, and we have these arguments about the royal family and about this couple in particular all the time. Let me just say, it does take somebody brave in her position to talk about thinking about suicide and ending her life. Props to her for that. And it's good to have the conversation regarding race. But here's the problem a lot of people are having, Kennedy. There are individuals right now that really want their kids back in school. They really want their jobs back. They want their lives back, or they've lost lives in their family or in their circle due to COVID. So when you see three very rich, entitled people talking about mistreatment or things aren't going well for them, sometimes I think that the violins of the American people who don't love perhaps the Queen as much as those across the pond do. Even though 17 million tuned in, there were a lot of people afterward that, like I said, on the one hand, they were like, wow, we're glad that she mentioned that, and it's terrible to have racism. But there are some out there going, you married a prince.
Yeah, what did you think was going
to happen when you entered into that role?
I didn't Google him, though, so I didn't even know who he was. I thought his grandma was a Freddie Mercury tribute band. Stephen, your thoughts?
Three cheers to Leslie about the tone of the interview and what I think people should be focused on. I don't have much to say about the racism claims. I mean, of course there's racism in the royal family. Has she met her husband? He had a Nazi armband on his. I mean, come on. First, I don't think you go on television after being paid millions of dollars and drop vague accusations against your own family or in-laws. In-laws are okay because nobody likes them, but for nefarious or prejudicial behavior. I'm not commenting on the truth of them or not. That's only known to the family again. But if you're going to drop something like that, name names and let them defend them. Name names, let them defend themselves. No one looks good here, including, in my opinion, a socially obsessed social media and a mainstream media who is just like, suddenly here's the shiny object, here are the car keys. I don't know. I didn't really watch this. I didn't pay attention to it. We fought an entire war so we didn't have to care about the inner drama of a royal monarchy.
Yeah. I don't believe them for a second, Emily, when they say they've only seen a little bit of The Crown. I wish I could swear right now, because that is just a hot pile of cow dung. They've watched every second. She's like, oh, I should play me. Honey, you're not a good enough actress. Emily.
Oh my God, this whole thing is cracking me up so much. All right, here's how I feel. That Everyone's journey is their own. So Prince Harry and her mental trauma and mental well-being are so valid, and I don't want to touch that. And
he has a
that
mental
is their
health
own
foundation.
journey.
He has a foundation that is devoted to mental health, and he couldn't ask for help. What is wrong with him? How thick is that boy?
Okay, but I just want to say this, you guys, that I don't want to judge them, but I feel like the Emma would have been so much stronger if they stayed as a part of the family.
You get judged.
Please judge them.
And then changed it from the inside out. She talked about how much representation matters, so why didn't she stay in it? And then for decades to come, be that representation across the Commonwealth. Like, instead of ditching in just 4 years, which is, I mean, that was college. College was one hazy night for us all. It was just 4 years. If she had stayed in it, then she could have done so much
really
more.
pregnant. Like, super pregnant. Like, I tried to rush a sorority pregnant. They wouldn't have me. It's so weird. I should sue. I should hire Emily to sue them. Emily, Stephen, and Leslie, it's been a dream come true. Thank you all. What a trio. Yay. Thanks.